Hey, we're in the next part, what's up? And we're still talking about this particular issue that is wreaking havoc in my life. So in the previous part I was speaking about my historical qualm with black men and how they're so aloof. They've got this mean, cold, unresponsive, sort of kind of comatose, latently persecuting disposition about themselves when it comes to black women. Sometimes black women that they end up not only dating but married to. And for me, it's like, why would you act that way towards somebody that you have interest in? You're attracted to them. Is it not a man's job to make a woman understand that he is interested in her so that the woman can open up like a butterfly if she's interested for him to pursue, right? I've always had that issue, like especially with black men and black women. Really, if you're going to be honest with yourselves, you know this is a thing. Many of y'all are married to men that were not very loving, were not very kind to you the first time you met them. And I don't know what your relationships look like today. I don't know if they are kind now. I don't know if they are loving now. But really, ever does a person who feels like they need to handle you by being mean, ever like all of a sudden, now that they've, banked you, now that they've gotten you in their lives, I don't think they're going to suddenly start being kind because something in them made them feel like they need to handle you by being cold. It's like you have to grovel and grovel and grovel, right? Just to get like an iota of affection from this man. I guess that's just, the judgment on Eve. Yeah. The Bible, it is written therein that from now on your desire will be for your husband. If you desire the affection of someone that doesn't want to give it to you, I can see why that's a judgment. Otherwise, to desire your husband, nothing's wrong with that. Unless he's not giving you that affection, But anyway, I was telling you guys about something that happened last night when I was busy sitting here moping. The reason why I was moping was because it was brought to my memory something that happened in the past. There was this colleague that I used to work with at MTN. I wasn't interested in him romantically at all. Like, I wasn't attracted to him or anything like that. But whether or not I'm attracted to you is irrelevant. I'm still gonna be kind, sweet, collegial, and greety. Like when I see you, I'm gonna smile and greet because you're a human being in my presence. Not only that, there's just this like unspoken decorum in the black community amidst each other, that you don't just walk into a room and not greet. Like when you see other black people, there's like an acknowledgement that we have with one another. We greet each other. Okay, it's a cultural thing with us. That's how we roll. Anyway, whatever. It's a cultural norm. Yes. Okay, so I couldn't understand why black men especially just deviate away from that. It was just black men, actually. No, it's not just black men. Black girls have a lot of attitude, which is another story for another day. They don't love each other. Black girls, they got black girl face. Like, they're just mean. And even when you greet them, they're like, hello. It's like you have to drag it out of them. It's ridiculous, but maybe that's why black men are like that also. But the thing about black girls is like they're like that towards black girls, black women. They're not like that towards black men. So I can't even understand why black men treat us with this reverse psychology, because it's not like black girls have got an aloof disposition towards black men. They don't. They actually are warmer to them than they are towards each other. So this cannot be explained by the fact that black women are mean. They are mean, but only to other black women. They're not mean across the board. Okay, cool. Right? Black girls, don't deny it, it's true. Anyway, whatever. Cool beans and bananas, right? I was thinking then last night about this one dude that I had worked with for, perhaps it could have been like 2 years, or in the same building with. I never really worked closely with him in my projects, but we had worked in the same building, same floor, same like more or less clump of cubicles in the office. And having seen each other for a good 2 years, just up and down, enough for dumelang to be a thing. Abantu bayazikhohlwa. When you go to corporate, you think you can leave your grandmother's manners behind. Like, some of our grandparents would be annoyed with the way that we are towards each other in corporate, because there's just no decorum, no more like cultural norm, that really wasn't broken, but you try to fix it, being unraveled in the ecosystem. Nonetheless, whatever. So this dude was just like many other dudes of this nature, but he stands out because of what ultimately ended up happening later on. in life as the years progressed, as the months progressed, with him being all up in the ecosystem. He was one of those cold, mean-spirited guys that does not even, like, if he can see you coming from a distance as a fellow female in the office, and he will deliberately just walk past you, got attitude, almost as if though he doesn't walk but he glides, and you be looking at him basically ready to acknowledge presence, right, on some hello or dumelang, whatever, but nothing to foo, like, you know, gale force wind. And I had been endured through this man's gale force winds for the entire duration of my tenure working in the same environment as him. And he was one of many of this kind of man, but I am now speaking of him because of what eventually happened with his particular life, okay? Gale force wind giving man. And one day in the organization, there started working this like bright yellow bone chick in some department, I don't know where. MTN was like a university campus, but for young professionals. It was teeming at the folds with gorgeous women. I remember this one colleague of mine, when he started working for MTN, having historically worked for Standard Bank, coming in, and we were having a conversation with him, me and my colleague, my female colleague, and he was like, MTN is like the devil's den when it comes to temptation. Like, there are so many beautiful girls here, you don't know whether you're coming or going. And I saw it on the day when I came for the interview. They were just everywhere. It's like they were just these gliding, like, beauty queens. Okay, MTN was like that. It was full, like, floor to floor with these beautiful young professional women that dressed well, educated, doing well, like, if, like, yeah, that's why a lot of people met there and got married there type thing. It was, like I said, it looked like a university campus, the glory of the beauty of people there, but like in corporate, right? So that's why I thought I was going to meet my husband there as well. Like, it was just, yeah, very, very, very terrible. Those were my thoughts when I started working there as well. There are so many pretty girls, especially women. There are so many pretty girls here, and they all so well dressed, and they all are doing so well, and they and the dudes as well, you know, so many handsome guys, etc., etc. It was a lovely, lovely environment for young professionals. Excellent space to meet the future love of your life type thing. Yeah, so when there was a new woman working, that is fly, it was like typical. It's almost as if though on your CV, on MTN, not CV, sorry, but in the interview, when you rocked up, if you did not look a certain way, you didn't get a job. You didn't get the job. It's like they deliberately hired really gorgeous women. They deliberately hired, like, just these, it's like they were, they might as well have been Tinder, but like corporate Tinder. Just this environment full of these like eligible bachelors and eligible bachelorettes. Most yet to be married. You get my point. It was just really great, like I said, for single people. Like, it was great to work there. Anyway, whatever. That was MTN, okay? Yeah, so another young lady started working, and she was no different from all the other young ladies that were working there. Also beautiful, well put together, all that jazz, working somewhere in some department that I didn't understand. And so, yeah, you know, we were always wondering every brand spanking new month that came in, who's the fly new human that's gonna start working here? Like, let's check to see, you know, what new pretty young thing's gonna start working here. Like, every month it was just, you know, they kept on feeding us hot girls and hot boys. All right, cool, very well. So this young hot girl was just a hot girl. That's it, like another one. Like, it was just the norm, go MTN, for Miss South Africa type standard beauty queen girls to just start working for the company, okay? Cool beans and bananas. Very tempting environment for married men, so you could just like, wow, all right. And indeed, but whatever, cool, very well. So this young lady starts working, and I saw her. I noticed her. You know, I actually had a close friend that I used to talk with every single day in the office that worked with her and knew her from the past, and they every so often would talk, right? Just some cute chick working for some department I don't understand. And within about a month, I started to notice that this guy was dating this girl. Like, the dude that was Gale Force Wind, when he walked right past me, like, ignore, like, does not greet, nothing. And I was not the only woman endorsed through this kind of experience by him, right? But this woman starts working, no different from all the other beauty queens working in the building. Just this one, he decided that, yeah, I guess that's the one he likes, right? So I started to notice that they were dating, because one day at the what do you call this thing, at the security gate turnstile, like at the conveyor belt where you exit the building. Very well. Yeah, no, they were holding hands going out, like holding hands leaving, you know, like basically they were showing everybody guys were dating. Like it was cool. For them it was like, I don't care what you say. Cool, very well. So here it is that these dudes are dating, and I noticed that this chick that started about a month or two ago was dating this dude, and all that rang in my mind was, this guy's mean. He's cold. He treats women like non-entities. How did you come to talk to him until he pursued you and you agreed to be his girlfriend? He was obviously very serious with you to a point of walking around the building, still in the office with you holding hands as you were exiting. You were also exiting together, evidencing that you're probably traveling together, so you're already like shacking up or traveling together in this particular regard. He's very serious about you. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of months down the line you flash an engagement ring and you're getting married to him. Okay? This dude is just any other eligible bachelor in the building, having met an eligible bacheloress in the building. But I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. But how did you come to be the woman that he is not mean to, while the rest of us endure his guilt for wins? What is it about me and this girl here, this girl here, that girl over there, that woman everywhere else around, that make us like bubblegum under his feet, that he just kind of scrapes off using the pavement, while you get to be the flower that he picks in the garden? Is there something that you ooze, that you give off, that you reverberate, and you know, is there an echo that comes off you, some kind of a like circumference of glory that comes off you, that makes him relax, that makes him less arrogant, pompous, aloof, with an ill-will disposition about himself towards women of his own skin tone? Women who are also in the black community, because they don't tend to be that mean to white girls, Indian girls, or any other race. They're like that only to black women. So I wondered about this girl to a point of feeling some envy towards her as well. I told you, I was not attracted to this guy. I didn't like him. That's just the thing. Like, especially another thing that would not cause me to be attracted to a guy is him being that mean to me. There's no incentive for me to even look at him twice on some wow cute. You know what I mean? I wasn't attracted to him. So it's not like I was like, oh, why didn't you ask me out instead of her? What was so special about her? It wasn't even about that, but it was about what happened. What is it that made this girl come into your ecosystem and not receive your incredible, like, tarnishing, really hard knock bad attitude? What is it? Please tell me. I would like to know what made you kind to her until she embraced you, because I imagined that there is no woman that is going to accommodate a man in her life that starts out mean towards her. You know, why would this woman be content to be with this guy if initially until this woman was so in his face that they finally spoke, and then he was like, by the way, so what's your name? And then only he starts to like speak Shellington vibes. He starts to only ask her out at that stage. I imagine that there was no way under heaven that this woman would ever accommodate a man that is that ridiculous initially. Because who accommodates mistreatment like that before you even date a guy? But unfortunately, it is a curse among black women. Unfortunately, it is indeed a disease in the veins coursing through them like a cancer of black women. They do end up falling in love with men that treat them like rubbish at first. They allow them to come into their space despite having initially tarnished their hearts with sorrow. They take it. But at the time, I was asking myself emotionally how this woman ended up being so well treated by this guy to a point of him basically showing everybody that this is my woman, even though he does not treat all the other black girls in the office well. I was like, maybe she has a glory in her that we don't have. Maybe there is something about her that's gentle, peaceable, and quiet, and precious, enough for him to not be so horrible. Except at the time when I was observing this about this gentleman, except there was nothing so gentle about this human individual. He was rather kind of rough, negarized against black women. And please, rough nega is not the N-word. It's South African terminology to speak of a dude that's kind of disheveled in his disposition. This dude nelele rough nega to other women, mara he was a gentleman, a total one. I imagine to this chick, enough for him to, like I said, parade her in front of all of us as this is the one I chose. Okay, very well. Now that we've spoken that, I went on right ahead to wonder. At the time, I was yet to come to the conclusions that I have come to now. After hell hath no fury like a woman scorned has been my mantle. I was yet to be this upset, like just mortified by the behavior of black men. I was yet to be basically indoctrinated into a particular mindset about how men are by the experiences I've endured. I was yet to be embittered by mistreatment. I was still kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with hope that they're not all bad. You know, when you're still young, you'll be looking at men on some, no, yes, there can be dogs out there, but they're not all dogs. I was yet to get there, okay? And I'm still not there because I'm a Christian woman and we don't do blanket applications because God is not pleased with blanket applications. But I'm just speaking as a woman who's making observations, okay? Very well. So I asked myself, what is it about this woman that oozes so much glory that this guy would then make himself less cold just for her? Because there is no way, I imagined, there is no way under heaven that that woman would allow that man to win her over. I mean, cold. No. Because she's normal. She's a human being that wants to be treated well. So if this man didn't treat her well, there's no way she's just going to take him. Until I, progressed in life, in the years, and I got, suffocated by this kind of black man. And I realized that, unfortunately, that woman very likely took what I couldn't, what I prayed for God to eradicate. She took it because when you are growing up as a woman desirous of a picket fence, and you long for this beautiful romantic story, and it does not quite come. There is this thing that we do as human beings. We settle. We take what comes. We accept what is thrown in our direction because we imagine it is impossible to find better, to find different. So after many years of experiencing this, it's like you get trained, retrained, basically like a form of social conditioning, like your Pavlov's dog, made to salivate after the prospect of being given meat when there is no meat coming your way because there is a metronome ticking in the background or bell rings. Whether or not there is any real reward and you are salivating after something is irrelevant. What you rather do now is just salivate at the prospect of there being meat coming, even if meat doesn't come, just at the prospect. You know, that classical conditioning experiment with Ivan Pavlov, where it is that they paired to a paired stimulus with a conditioned response where the dogs were fed meat at the ticking of a metronome or the ringing of a bell. Every single time when a bell would ring, the dogs would eat the meat. But then the scientists took away the meat, but then continued to ring the bell or tick the metronome. And the dogs, when they heard the metronome go or the bell go ticking, ticking, the dogs salivated, even in the absence of meat coming. So basically, just seeing boys in your environment just come into your space to look at you, try to communicate with you or whatever, is enough for a woman to salivate after the prospect of this finally being marriage or being the one, the whatever. And all throughout your life, you have been dating guys that are a particular way. They've been a particular way, very predictably so, and you've been unhappy with it, but now you've been conditioned to accept it. Now you have been given like little meats that say, okay, I'll make you a main chick. I will make you my wife. I will marry you. Now that we are no longer 18 and I'm like 27 and you're 25, fine, I'll marry you, right? I'm not just going to make you a girlfriend for like 5 years and move on because I'm at that age where I should marry now. But I don't have to have virtue. I don't have to wear character. I just have to be the guy that comes at the age that, you imagine is appropriate for you to get married. So you will marry me anyway, whether or not my character is on par with what you originally always wanted. That picket fence that you built in your mind, that archetype of future glory and romance when you were just a child that you built with your Barbie and your Ken doll, you forget about it and you imagine it an ideal that is unattainable. And so for those reasons, because you imagine real, true, sound adoration, love from a man is unattainable, you then take whatever scraps you've been getting. That's why recreational dating is so dangerous. Whatever you've been getting since you were a teenager, whatever random douchebag you've been dating since you were like 17 years old, and you just keep on dating the same kind of douchebag, when a dude rocks up and this time around he's prepared to do more than what the the douchebag you dated when you were 21 is, but this time he's prepared to do one up on him, and that he wants to propose marriage to you, or he will walk in the mall with you holding hands, or he will basically proclaim to the whole of the earth around him, around y'all, that hey, this one is the one that I'm serious with. To also handle all the other women to say, all of y'all ain't jack, but this one I choose. So therefore pitting women against each other, making them wonder what's so special about her instead of me. Like, you could greet me, you could speak well to me, even if you don't end up with me, so I don't end up having bitterness or envy towards your girlfriend, wondering why do you treat her so well while you're not treating me so well. That's why black women have so much beef with each other. It's like we're competing for the affection of these men, or at least just the basic foundational rudimentary respect. We don't even have to be with them, but we don't get it. And so when one woman gets taken seriously by the mean black guy that's close to all of us, we want to pounce on her. We wonder, "King got this chick that caused that horrible guy to be so like doting over her." So you look at yourself and you imagine, I ain't jack, ain't nothing about me makes sense at all. And so you end up envying uncomfortably so this unfortunate woman who you don't even realize has settled for basically some rotten meat that Ivan Pavlov has provided her, and she, like the typical doggy that she is salivating after it, even though it's not what she anticipated or asked for. It's like we've been conditioned to take a lot of rubbish in our stride, like just a copious amount of it, a cornucopia of nonsense. We have been made to just embrace it, because at least this time around it comes with a ring, because this time around it comes with more seriousness, you know, like instead of like a side piece. Or this time around it comes with the invitation to have keys to the apartment, or this time around it comes with the invitation to move in with me. You know, that, like I said, I'm trying to discourage women from this recreational dating nonsense, because you should be waiting on the Lord for your husband, and you should also get into the scripture study to learn what under heaven it is that you should accommodate, embrace for courtship in a man as a like foundational, like minimum standard that you will take in your stride. There are certain treatments that you should write a guy off from the get-go when they walk in them, like an aloof disposition before he so much as greets you. That is not a man. That is refined unto humility by God. It's written in the Lord's word. A faithful man who can find. So essentially, a faithful man is literally as rare as the Proverbs 31 woman who it is written of as well, that an excellent wife who can find. It is written in God's word that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. It is hard, however, to find a good wife. The Proverbs are dedicated to warning men of bad women, right? Like a constant dripping on a rainy day, so too is it to share a house with a contentious woman. It is better to live on the corner of a roof than to share a house with a contentious woman. A bad woman is like rottenness in the bones of a man, while a good one is like a crown on his head. So they warned perpetually, my son, avoid the adulterous woman, avoid. They're given counsel, but they're also made to understand that she's all over the show. She sits at the city gates and she tells men, come into my courtyards. Her feet go down to death. She's not a good woman, but she is teeming at the folds all over society. She is ubiquitous, and the good girl is rare. She's few and far between, but a man got to search out and to find her, because who can find the one who is a faithful man, right? So the Lord will avail you a wise, gorgeous, adoring of his precepts lady if you get refined into a man that basically can love her the way that Christ loved the church, can love her the way, or desires to anyway, to love her and works on it the way that Christ loves the church. And Jesus is humble. The Lord loves women even when they have got an issue with blood, even when they are adulteresses, when they have got multiple husbands. You know the woman that almost got stoned to death. You know her rap sheet, yet the Lord treated her with so much glory and honor and splendor. The lady who went away and was like, I know, I've met a man who knows everything about my life, because she was with like the man that she was with was not her husband, and she'd been married before. She was basically an adulteress. The way that the Lord treated her was so adoring. We know the story of Mary Magdalene. God had a way about women that society deemed unlovable, like called them harlots and whatnot. He treated them with a great deal of honor, right? So so that's humility. That's not writing off a person. He inspired Hosea to adore a prostitute wife. He made Hosea able to love a harlot wife the way that Christ loved the church, to basically disregard whatever it is that might be the issues with her. So I'm just trying to make it clear that black women, apparently, allegedly, maybe we've got like ugly black women or angry black women issues, or we're always throwing our toys out the cart, we're embittered, we're battered, we're this and that, and so we're insufferable. Can't nobody really truly love us because, you know, we don't even have responsible this and that. Parents raise us strangely. We ever just being made baby mamas. The rap industry is misogynistic and they keep on talking about us like we're B-word ladies and whatnot. Yeah, so we are apparently unlovable, whether or not we are truly the B-word, whether or not we are truly the S word, whether or not we are truly the W word, whether or not we really are not with any man's while because we've slept with like 20,000 guys, or our dads and moms don't love us, so therefore what's wrong with you? Like, really? I can't take a for irrespective whether or not we have that rap sheet, they should wear the humility. If at all they are trying to fashion themselves unto God in walking like him, they should wear the humility of Jesus, where yes, you've got 10,000 other husbands, but get up. Has anybody condemned you? Neither do I. Tell you what the things that you've done before, and cause you to rejoice and celebrate now that you've been saved, O Samaritan woman. I know a man that has told me everything about my life. Whether or not you are Gomer, you will have a man fetch you from harlotry over and over and over and over again and still dote over you. Whether or not you are a bad girl, if a man cannot at a minimum wear that level of godliness, you for the life of you should not be trying to settle, because you're never going to get treated well. We all have histories, and I mean, of course, to speak of a woman that is a harlot with a really bad rap sheet, that is the extremity. But for the better part of the time, most of us don't necessarily have that bad rap sheet, and yet we keep getting treated so terribly by these guys. And that is why we gotta wait on the Lord to bring men along who will understand how to treat a woman, love a woman the way that Christ loved the church. Do you understand? And adore her despite what might be the extenuating circumstances around her, what might be her love ecosystem, whether or not she's adored Kohabona, whether or not she's got, like I said, you know, a history of just sleeping with every guy in town, whether or not whatever. So they don't have an excuse, even though black women have got a bad rap in the world for being angry black women, this, that, and whatnot. Our men should not, for the life of them, based on how it is that we are so negatively viewed, whatever perception they have about us, they should not, if at all they are acceptable to marry us, care what the world feels, whatever the perception of the world, whatever the stereotype that we wear in this world might be. They ought say to the world, has anybody condemned you? No. Well, neither do I. No, go and sin no more. That's what Jesus did. And indeed, they ought wear a WWJD disposition about themselves, because they claim to love the Lord. Instead, they are treating us the way that the world is treating us. And if then the world goes on right ahead and validates an era of judgment on our persons, blanket applying us as these ugly, angry black women that are just content to just be these, like, you know, uncomfortable baby mamas, constantly screaming and yelling at like deadbeat baby daddies. If at all these men are going to treat us this way, then I guess wait, like literally pass it up, like say peace, no, it's cool. I'll wait for somebody who gets it, because a faithful man who can find a faithful man who can find who can find a faithful man, according to the scriptures, that dude is as rare as the Proverbs 31 woman. And so it is only she who rather that waits on the Lord patiently. Wait for me, and I will do this. I will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your vindication like the noonday sun. If you wait on Jesus, he will bring, even if it's a black man, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't gotta marry outside of your race, because frankly, I don't think all black men would be written off. It would be unfair. But whoever comes along is not going to be that dude passing your shade, giving you reverse psychology vibes. He's not going to expect you to salivate after him because you're like Pavlov's dog and you've been conditioned to just take whatever comes your way. He is not going to do it, no matter what is going on with you. He will say, has the world condemned you? No, Lord. Then neither do I. Then go and sin no more. So that which is your bitterness about black men, because they've all treated you like rubbish, this dude should basically nurse you back to health in your mindset. He should correct it. He should. Because here it is that people are rocking up trying to stone you because you're one of those typical black women that are angry at the whole world, and so can't nobody suffer you long. Well, it turns out when you love a woman the way that Christ loved the church, they repent. They repent. It is written in God's word that an unloved woman, the earth cannot bear up under her. The earth cannot bear up under her. An unloved woman who gets married, the whole earth cannot survive her. But if you grab that woman and you make her like Gomer, hey, like marry her, despite being godly, Hosea, take a harlot wife, you can actually transform her and how she is, because now she has received the love that she has longed for. The curse of Eve to long after her husband will no longer be a curse but a blessing, because now you have embraced the second Adam. Let's move to the next part.